Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Chalkboard Finances and part 3 of the series where we are talking about finances. And now that we are in part 3, we've gone through everything. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you about, actually in the last video, I shared with you my personal investing journey, and I want to share with you how I got started, and specifically my area of investing has been real estate. So I am going to be sharing with you in these next few videos of part 3, where I take you along my journey of what I've done and how I have invested in real estate and how I've done that. So hopefully you find that interesting and informative. Again, this is just meant to be information and education. It's not meant to be any legal advice or anything like that. I'm not a attorney or a financial advisor or a CPA or anything like that. So just understand that this is just my own personal opinion, my journey, and what I've done, and you can use that to learn from or whatever you want to take from it. So let's get into that. So today we're going to be talking about what I've done to learn the process of real estate investing. So as you'll see on the board behind me, it says read, study, and educate. So that's what I did. When I started getting into wanting to know how to invest in real estate, as I mentioned in the last video, I had an opportunity to buy a home from an individual, and I didn't even know what I was doing in presenting the offer to that person, and obviously it didn't happen. So I learned and quickly realized that I needed to educate and understand myself, just the lingo of real estate and lending, even though I had been in the mortgage world. That when it comes to actually investing in real estate, there's a whole different ballgame of the verbiage, the lingo, how to calculate numbers and how to look at properties, and just getting your mindset in a different understanding of numbers and how they work and everything like that. So that's what I'm going to share with you a little bit about today, is what I did to understand and learn that different language, because it almost is like a different language as far as the terminology is concerned, how the numbers calculations are being used. So if you've watched these series of videos up to this point, you may recall that early on I said, it was like the first video, I think, of what is your view of money and having a healthy view of money. So you almost now that we're into the investing side of things, we almost have to have another transformation or a shift in the way you think about money, because it is different. So if you come along with the viewpoint of Dave Ramsey, if you've watched his videos or read any of his books, you will see that he doesn't necessarily agree with the way I've done things and what we're going to be talking about now. So the other side of the coin is how we talked about good debt and bad debt, and how one of the past videos also was talking about how to pay off your bad debt. And in that video, I was talking about what I considered bad debt. That would be like credit cards, student loans, auto loans. But what I didn't say is that a bad debt, as far as I'm concerned, is when you invest in real estate, you're going to have a mortgage on that property. I personally do not consider that to be a bad debt, and I will tell you why. So we are talking about buying rental properties where you have a tenant in place and that tenant is paying your mortgage. That type of investment is what I consider to be an asset, and that is making you money versus a liability takes money away from you. So one of the books that I read that talks all about this is the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You may have heard of Robert Kiyosaki, and he is probably on the opposite end of the spectrum from Dave Ramsey. So the two of them most likely don't agree on investing and when to invest or what to invest in. But that needs to be your own personal decision on how you're going to do that and which one of them you're going to follow under. Now, there's things about Dave Ramsey that I do really agree with, and that's up to the point of paying off all that bad debt, saving your emergency fund. But beyond that, I tend to follow along more of the lines of Robert Kiyosaki, and then rather than trying to pay off your house as quickly as possible, like Dave Ramsey says, to take your money and invest it, which Robert Kiyosaki would prescribe to. And in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about how you need to understand the difference between a liability and an asset, and that you then buy assets. So I would highly recommend that book. It's not a real estate book per se. It doesn't mention at all anything in the book about real estate, but all it does is talk about understanding the difference of a liability and an asset, and then buying assets. And it's probably one of the most well-known books in the real estate investing world is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, even though, again, it's not a real estate book. That's where I started my journey. I started reading that book, and I had read it way back in college, but at that time I wasn't ready for it. So he has a second book after that, which is called Cash Flow Quadrant. And in that book, he talks about how there's really four types of individuals or ways to invest that will make you wealthy. And one of them is investing. So I would recommend reading that book after you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Again, Robert Kiyosaki, his second book is called Cash Flow Quadrant. Another book that I read, again, this was really helping me to form my mind and understand my thinking of money and investing, and just having the mindset of how to invest and just thinking differently about money. So another book that I read was called The Millionaire Next Door, and that is by this individual. His name is Thomas J. Stanley. So I would recommend that book as well if you want to read books about just that book. He talks about, he studied millionaires and their habits and their lifestyles, and that it really is just, you would probably not even recognize the millionaire. They're not going to be the flashy one that's driving Lamborghinis or have this extravagant lifestyle. They would look like an average person because of just the habits that they developed over time. So that's a really interesting book. It's more of like a case study, or it's more analytical or more numbers, not extremely, but he talks about just like percentages of people that fall into what a millionaire does, like how they spend their money or what they buy or how long they keep a vehicle. They don't go out and buy a vehicle every 2 years. They hold on to their cars for 20 years or whatever. They're not out buying the latest and greatest thing. So he really talks about how that average millionaire just drives an old car or has just not the latest and greatest thing. So those are a few books that I would recommend. Now, another way that what I did to also just learn more about real estate investing is I just watched YouTube videos or found websites online that had information. There's a really big community on a website called Bigger Pockets. It's just biggerpockets.com. It's free. There is a paid version, like you can pay to be a pro member, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. I don't think that's necessary. But Bigger Pockets, it's like a forum. It's a community of all different types of real estate investing. So there's like realtors, there's just real estate investors, individual people that are doing that. So Bigger Pockets has a ton of information on there. You can almost read articles on any topic. There's forums where you can ask questions and people can answer them. They have a really big YouTube channel as well. Brandon Turner used to be the big name that was a part of Bigger Pockets, but he's kind of since moved on to other things. So there's other people that are still doing Bigger Pockets on their YouTube channel, but again, they just have a ton of information on there. So I would recommend Bigger Pockets. Now it can get a little bit, what would I say? Sometimes I think that Bigger Pockets has almost kind of gotten so big that they're now talking over the average beginner. Now they still have a lot of webinars that you can hop on to and watch recorded videos of them doing a live session on how to get started in real estate. But a lot of the content that's on their YouTube channel seems to sometimes be more for beyond the average beginner real estate investor. So just be careful of that. But they do have a lot of great content. So I do recommend Bigger Pockets. Some of the other things that I've done as I've gone through and watched other people on YouTube is one of the early ones that I watched, and I still watch his content and his videos. His name is Phil Pustievsky. Don't ask me how to spell that, but it's like Pustj something. I don't know. Phil Pustievsky. He's out of Florida, and he is what I would maybe determine or call he's a wholesaler or a creative real estate investor, and he has a lot of good content. He doesn't post very often on YouTube, but he has a ton of great videos about different ways to invest in real estate, just creative ways. And I may share a little bit about that process on my own journey and how I've invested in real estate and found properties and things like that. So check out Phil Pustievsky. He's really good. And he says he gives the signal in the noise. So he tries to differentiate himself from just the average YouTuber out there by giving a signal in the midst of all this noise out there. So another good YouTube channel is called One Rental at a Time. You can search that, or Michael Zuber. So Michael Zuber wrote this book called One Rental at a Time. He is a real estate investor out of California, and he got into realizing that he was, again, kind of like Bigger Pockets, that he felt like he was just beyond he was speaking over the heads of the average real estate investor. And so he realized that the average real estate investor just needs to own a few rentals, and that it's a slow process based on the title of his book, One Rental at a Time. So he has a lot of good content for more newer beginning real estate investors, and he does videos every day, and he interviews and has guests on his channel who are knowledgeable in a lot of different areas. So he has a lot of good content, and again, he has a ton of videos because he posts probably 2 or 3 or 4 videos every day. So he's really good, and kind of springboarding off of his channel is similar to his is this guy named Dion Talk. That's his channel, Dion Talk. He's out of Seattle, and he has a lot of good content too, just for the average real estate investor. And he talks about how the average real estate investor can be financially free in 10 years or less, even if you're not starting from a great position. So he talks about how he was able to become financially independent in 10 years based on his investing in real estate, and he shares how he did that and his journey. And he just owns a few properties in Seattle area, and he's able to make work optional. So that's kind of the focus of his channel. He has good content too, and he does like a live feed once a week on Tuesdays, I think. So he has good content. There's another channel out there that I don't watch as much, but they have good content too. They're called the Quack Brothers or the Quack Brothers. It's Kwak, and it's two brothers. They talk about like the economy or investing. They are a little more, I don't know the term. I mean, they're not as in depth of like a specific type of investing, I feel like, but they still have good content, and they look at more of like maybe the economy as a whole or that sort of thing. But they have good content too, and they're good channel. So those are some of the books I've read. Those are some of the forums I've followed, and the channels I've watched on YouTube. And again, it's really just educating yourself and getting your mindset to be able to think differently about money and investing and real estate, because it is a different language almost, so to speak. So you need to take the time to learn it. Now, part of the this has taken me probably, by the time I started following these people and reading these books and doing all this education, was at least a year. Now, there can also get to the point of what people refer to as analysis paralysis. In other words, you get so focused on feeling like you have to be so perfect and understand everything so much that it keeps you from doing anything. So I kind of fell into that a little bit, and I realized that I was doing that, and where the next step was I really just had to get out there and start looking at properties and making an offer and getting over that fear of whatever it was I was afraid of. And so that issue can happen during this process, is that you feel like you have to just learn more and more and more. And eventually, I mean, you do to a certain extent, but at the same time, you also at some point have to take that next step of actually investing. And now, I guess I haven't mentioned this, but there was another way to really educate and learn is having a mentor or talking with someone who has already gone through investing in real estate that is beyond where you're at, so that you can learn from them, that they can walk along with you and help you in that process to hopefully help you not make any poor decisions. So a mentor would be a good another way to learn and to understand the process, and to have someone with you helping you through this process and just understanding things. And because you can get so much information from books and videos and websites, but it really can be beneficial to actually have someone that you can walk with and talk about your journey, and having that person there to help you be that mentor, so to speak. So this video has been a little longer than normal, but hopefully it's given you some good information and starting points. So again, those are just the areas that I personally used to inform myself and understand the real estate lingo and the journey and the process, and just understanding all of that. So hopefully that helps you gives you some ideas on where you can start. So I know that's kind of been a lot of information on a lot of different people or sites. So let me know if you have any questions about all of that, and I will be happy to help in any way I can. Thanks, everybody. We will see you on the next video, and we will talk about how to actually identify a real estate house and how to actually start figuring out what type of properties to invest in. So we'll see you on the next video. Thank you. We'll talk to you later. Bye.